ladies and gentlemen. I'm Debbie Henry, and this is your Hartwell Hustle. And you know what? It has been a minute since we've been here. Happy New Year. We're glad to have you. We're glad that you are checking back in to find out what's going on in Hartwell. And today, we are long overdue to have someone from our Arts Center here. We've had so many great people on, and today is no exception. Today, we're starting off the year learning a little bit more about Hartwell's local Arts Center. And I've learned that that's probably not the full name or the right way to say it. So we're going to be educated as well, as we always are. So let's get started. Welcome. We have Dana Scott, and Dana is one of the Hart Center's volunteers. Is that correct?
That's correct. Right.
And Dana, tell us about you. You live in Hartwell. Who are you?
So I live in Hartwell with my wife, Candace. We live down at the Reed Creek area. Our house was just finished in 2013, and we've been moved here permanently in 2020.
Okay.
So, and ever since, we've been doing volunteer work and getting involved.
Okay. So you've been here a while.
Now it seems like we're one of the, the long-term, a lot of people came at COVID and we stuck around with them. So,
okay.
Yeah.
So let's get this straight. Let's set the record straight. What is this called? What is it called? The Arts Center, the Arts Center.
Right.
What is it called?
So it's called the Hart Regional Arts Center. And It's just a distinction for the incorporation of the nonprofit when it was founded. And it supports the Arts Center in Hartwell on East Howell Street. It's really more commonly referred to as the Arts Center, but the formal name is Hart Regional Arts Council. So it's been part of the community for many decades now, and now it's gone through a bit of a resurgence starting in 2024.
I know, and that's exciting. I mean, it's been renovated. It seems there's a revitalized interest. So I think that's exciting. I mean, as someone who likes to bring people into Hartwell, I'd love to introduce them to the Hart Center. Well, what was it that made you want to get involved with the Hart Center?
So as a kid, I'm the last of 8 kids, but as a kid, I was brought up with a lot of arts. My mother and father were both associated with the arts in the towns that we grew up in. And when my wife and I got together and we moved to Georgia, we got involved in the arts in our hometown back in Marietta. And once we got up here, we knew that it was going to be a little bit more difficult to get to know people because this is pretty rural, and being out on the other end of Old Andersonville Road, there's not a lot of neighborhood functions. So we found a way to get ourselves involved, and we went to our first opening back in 2022. And then from there, we started to get more involved in other volunteer activities. But the Arts Center was something that was always part of our desire to be more involved in supporting.
Okay.
So.
Okay. What do you think surprises people the most about our Arts Center?
Probably, first of all, the building. It's a historic venue, and it's been in that particular block since the early 1900s. It's been a long time, but the idea that the building itself was at one point closed and then reopened due to fundraising efforts of volunteers in town. And I think that would be, that's an interesting part of where we are today, that it changed so much since 2024. Okay. So we've had a lot of new members and a lot of new shows that have come. And I think the surprising part for others would be that we do not just art on the wall, but art that you can feel, art that you can make yourself, art that you can write about, art that you can take pictures about, art that you can hear.
Right.
So all types of entertainment and socializing can be done as well in that center.
Well, and that's one of the things I was going to ask you about, and we'll save that for a little bit later because there is an event coming up that we want to be sure and talk about.
Exactly.
But it is true. The Art Center it's more than just art on the wall.
Right.
I mean, it supports local artists. Tell us the different ways that it supports local artists.
So each month there is always some program associated with arts, either locally or people who come in to use the center to display their arts. For right now, we're having the Photography Guild is doing a local art presentation of photography from members from around the area.
Mm-hmm.
So if you were to go in when the center is open on Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, usually from noon to 4 o'clock, you can browse the artwork and you can purchase anything that you'd like. If the artist is available, that you can have a conversation with them right there while they're in the art center. So
Okay.
it's intended to be a multifunctional location. So
Mm-hmm.
while that show might be going on, there may be other people renting the facility to do events of their own, whether it's a birthday. People have had engagement parties there. They've had weddings there.
Mm-hmm.
We partner with the other vendors in town to be able to support more than just displaying art.
And
But
then does that in turn put money back into the art center when people rent the venue?
yes,
Okay.
it's multiple ways for the rental fees. Part of the proceeds from some of the art sales go to the ongoing foundation of the art center.
Okay.
And then we also hold our own fundraising events as well. And that's where I'm focused on. I'm part of the fundraising committee.
Okay. I don't think I knew. I mean, I knew that there were things that happened there, but I don't know that I necessarily knew that you could rent the space.
It's interesting what happened when the center closed. It closed because of the roof trusses were in need of dire repair.
Okay.
So once we fixed that and got the money to be able to continue operation, it was highlighted that the new board wanted to make sure that there was an event-driven environment so
Right.
that people could constantly come and see what's happening for the artists that were on display.
Mm-hmm.
So the idea was that it would be used as an openings when someone came and did a show. That we'd have an opening reception,
Mm-hmm.
and so that would be the first one. But then, while people wanted to do other events, whether it's personal or some other celebration, they could rent it, and you can rent it for the day. You can rent it for a few hours. And
Wow.
there's a kitchen facility. You can't cook, but there's catering that can be done as well.
Okay.
And we have full facilities, and there's a beer and wine license as well.
Okay.
So
And what we'll do is we will pop up information at the end of the show. We'll pop up if you want to rent the building. We'll pop up who to contact for that.
yes,
You mentioned a board, so tell me more about.
Sure.
Are they paid? Are they volunteer?
Right.
What's that?
so the Art Center is primarily organized through a volunteer board of directors. The board of directors is typical,
Mhm.
president, vice president, secretary, treasurer, at-large members. But we do have an executive director. Ashley Porter is the executive director. We recently hired her in the fall of last year.
Now, I've not met her. I don't mean to interrupt you. I've not met her, but I've heard great things about her.
She's really great.
Yeah.
She is. She's a ballet dancer
Mhm.
by training, but has been in the arts for a long time.
Mhm.
They live here locally.
Okay.
She and her husband, and they have dedicated a lot of activity, a lot of their time to making sure this center is successful.
Okay.
So she's the only paid person.
Mm-hmm.
Anytime there's a caterer, obviously they're paid through the funds of the fundraiser that's going on or the event that's going on. But the Art Center is mostly designed, the funds that are set aside for the Art Center is for programming,
Mm-hmm.
for educational purposes, as well as enhancement of the building. We're trying to get, if you know where the Art Center is, there's a building where there's a little piano out front
Mm-hmm.
next to the Southern Heart Brewery.
Mm-hmm.
That building is the annex, it's called, and we're trying to get that up and running as well. So we want to expand it, hopefully in 2026 and 2027.
Okay. Is there? I know the main building needed some renovations. Does that one
Right.
also need some renovations?
It does. It's got some other structural issues it needs to have taken care of. We can get in there, but we can't have the public in there.
Okay.
But that will be changing hopefully by the end of the year or the first of next year.
Okay. Okay. Let's just say I'm a volunteer,
Yes.
but I'm involved in other things,
Yes.
and so I want to be careful of the time.
Yeah.
If I say to you I want to volunteer with the Art Center, how much time is required?
Yeah. I think your time is what the Art Center values, and so we don't want to waste it. We want it to be very useful and very directed. we have programming that allows you to be specific in where your interests lie. So if you like to create art, you're welcome to be a teacher at the education level, and that can require as little as 3 or 4 hours a month, or during the summertime when we have an art camp, and there's 2 weeks worth of art camp for the kids that are out of school. You can help participate in that, and that can be a 20-hour a week event. So your timing can be based upon the programming that you want to have.
Okay.
If you wanted to show a volunteer support for the ongoing structural activities that we do, we'd love to have some electricians. We'd love to have some painters. We'd love to have some contractors who would be interested in giving up their time to be able to support that. So, but the most important part, I think, is having volunteers that are members.
Okay.
Because once you're a member, you also are eligible to get some discounted tickets, as well as entries to new events that haven't been publicized to the general public.
Right, and that's what I was going to say. I think it was last month or at the end of the year, I joined, and I was on the list, and I started getting, what's happening at the Arts Center.
Right, we do a pretty good job with that's where Ashley comes in. She does a great job with the social media, and we try to do as good a job as we can to get everything out in timely fashion so that people can volunteer if they want to, as well as see the events as they come around.
Okay. So elaborate a little bit more on the volunteerism and how people can volunteer.
So we have a series of opportunities for everybody to have a place at the Arts Center. First of all, if you're sort of interested in commitment, but you're not interested in a lot of commitment, you can be a docent. Okay. A docent is simply somebody who welcomes people to the center during the open hours and helps them with the questions that are about the display of the artwork. And that's a 3-hour commitment, maybe 2 or 3 times a month. So it's a really nice, easy way to get into it. And you don't have to know about art. You don't have to know about anything in particular about what's being presented. But over time, a docent really becomes a good face to the community of the Arts Center. So that's really good. The other ones I think are just helping with art camp, like we mentioned before. Also teaching classes. There are a lot of people around here who have art experience.
Yes.
And that would be helpful if you wanted to teach a class. In fact, you could use the Art Center yourself to teach people about real estate. You could use the Art Center to teach people about technology. It can be done by anybody, and you can be sponsored through the Art Center to do that. Okay. I think the other is helping with just the overall maintenance and growth of the center. Publications, things like the events, things like the support for the upcoming Smithsonian Votes and Voices. We'll need lots of people to be able to share in that load. So those are some of the activities I think that are most pressing for our volunteering.
Great.
Thanks.
Great. And then someone's made their contribution in the community.
Exactly.
So that's awesome.
Thank you.
And do you have to be a member to volunteer?
You do not have to be a member to volunteer.
Okay.
You do not. And you do not have to contribute any money to be a volunteer either.
Perfect.
We like you just the way you are.
Okay. So last year, I attended, I think it was probably the first big event since the reopening. Right. It was a black tie. No, it wasn't not truly a black tie, a little black dress, I think
that's
is what
it's
they called
called,
it.
Right.
And then it was great. So much fun. Yeah. And it was different than what our community has. So I saw the other day in my email that there's another event that's going to be held. Yeah. Sinatra.
It is. It's an evening with Frank Sinatra. Like the little black dress as a unique fundraiser event, this is more like not so much a fundraiser, but it's more of a social event. Okay. And it's February 7th. Okay. And the person that is going to be the Frank Sinatra is a doctor, a retired doctor who lives in Athens. He has been singing for years, and he's crooning just like Frank Sinatra. So he's going to have a program of Sinatra's songs from his whole portfolio of singing. He's a solo artist, and he's going to perform for about 3 hours.
That's nice. So if you're looking for a Valentine's Day, what? This might be it.
That's exactly what it is.
Okay.
It's the 7th, so it's a pre-Valentine's Day event.
Okay.
And we're having a lot of good initial feedback, and ticket prices are $75 a person, which is a lot. But when you think about the community that you're in and the ability to have, first of all, a nice venue to go to. Secondly, be able to dress up and not have to go too far out of your way to get to a nice place to have a nice social environment, have a beautiful singer, and to be able to have, it's going to be a group that will be about 75 people. So you'll have a nice time in a not too crowded environment and hopefully come away with a feeling of, I'm glad I did that.
And is that a tax write-off?
Well, for your donation for the ticket, yes.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
You're receiving something in return, but the majority of it is a tax write-off. Yeah.
Okay. What inspired this event? I mean, why not Elvis? Why not? I mean, is there a reason it's Sinatra?
Well, you're giving us ideas. We might do something else. It might be good. This town is just a great music town.
Yeah.
It's really incredible. I mean, you think about High Cotton. You think about the concerts at the Botanical Gardens, Southern Heart, on all of the locations in the station, they all have great music. So inspiring this was part of that, was part of the issue with, how do we get something that people would be interested to do around the Valentine's. But the Little Black Dress Gala was what brought it on. We had such a great turnout and such a great response to the idea that there was something a little bit more formal. You could dress up for. You'll have, some of your best friends will be there. You'll be able to enjoy yourself with good food. There'll be dancing as well. And so the idea was we were going to do maybe 2 or 3 of them a year to try to get the emphasis around how can we specially create an environment where people feel like they're treated as if they went to a big city.
More elevated, yeah.
Yeah, a little bit more out of the ordinary, and something that, you can still wear your boots with, but you can also come out and have a great time in your tux and beautiful dresses and enjoy yourself.
Right. Okay. So we'll be sure and put that information up on the screen.
Great.
Let's take it back to the community. Tell us about some of the events that you've had at the Arts Center.
So just recently we had an event which was a very memorable one, which was a work of other members, and specifically Mary Dilworth.
Yes.
And if you went to that showing, you noticed that she had the majority of her work was there. And we were very fortunate that she was able to attend, because not shortly after that, she passed.
Right.
But the fact that her work has been in this community for well over 60 years, she has painted scenes of this area as well as sculpted and done multimedia. So that was a very special event. We've also had photography events. One of our more famous photographers locally is our Bill Powell.
Right.
And Bill is shown his work there along with several other artists, photography artists that are local as well. John Cumming is one of them. He's going to be teaching a photography class. And then the other ones have been more around themes associated with the artists. And so we've had a portraiture showing at one point. We had a multimedia type of showing where people had work that was done with multiple forms of nature and elements in nature. Coming up, we have a great showing this summer where we will be tied in with the 250th sesquicentennial. Is that how we say it?
Oh, okay.
So Hartwell is one of 8 communities in Georgia. We're the second one on the tour, where the Smithsonian Voices and Votes exhibit is going to be displayed here from June 7th to July 16th.
And that'll be at the Arts Center.
That'll be at the Arts Center, and it will also have tie-in with the Botanical Gardens, with the Chamber of Commerce, Hartwell Downtown, and Main Street. So
that's going to be fabulous.
It will be great. It will be right at the time where we do pre-4th, and that there's, I don't know if it overlaps with cars and guitars, but it might.
Okay.
But that's a very special one.
Okay. And then Mistletoe Mart
yes.
just happened. Ever since I've lived here, that's been a big thing, a big fun thing to go to every year.
A lot of cities have them, and this one is pretty unique because it has so many good local artists that contribute. And this one this year ran just before Christmas, and I think it had the most turnout that we've ever had.
And I want to just reiterate that artist, it's not just, that doesn't just mean paintings or
Right.
photography. I mean, it could be wood carving, it could be the moss art, it's a lots of different things.
There's an artist, her name is Carol Brown, where she does mosaics and work with glass.
Oh.
And it's shown in a way that the image is off of the actual formatted piece of work. And so you see, she did a lot of pumpkins this year, and you see these glass pumpkins with the great art features that are associated with, Halloween and pumpkin season. And she did a great job with that. So we have, so there are lots of different ones that you see. We had one person who came, a woman who was part of the Botanical Gardens, who had, for the first time ever, sold her work. She turns wood and creates toys and little keepsake.
Really?
Yeah. So, and she does this as a pastime. It's really fascinating. And then there's another guy who makes bowls out of crepe myrtle trees.
Really?
Yeah, that's great.
And all that was at the Mistletoe Market?
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah.
I missed that one.
Yeah.
Okay,
Well,
I guess I was so busy looking at the jewelry or things for my grandkids, that kind of thing.
but then the Parade of Trees was right before that too, which
Yes.
is also fun because the Service League, which is another partner of the Art Center, gets involved, and the display of the trees brings in a lot of people who want to contribute to the Service League in support of the arts, as well as because the Service League helps the Art Center in many ways, not just fundraising.
Okay.
So,
Well, speaking of partnerships, I'm kind of putting you on the spot here, but do you partner with the schools, the local schools?
Sure.
Okay.
yeah, no, but that's a big part of that's part of that education program I was talking about.
Good. Okay.
So Ann Carswell, who heads up our education
Yes.
programs, she is the lead for a lot of our activity with the summer program. But coming up this March, if we will have a display of student art during this period between now and March, the art teachers at the elementary schools, the middle school, and the high school will select artwork from their students to be in a juried program at the center.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Okay.
So parents, grandparents, friends, family can come in, see art from their children on display in a public environment. And then there's a winner chosen. There's certain levels for that. And Ann's heads that up, and it should be a lot of fun towards the middle and end of March.
That's great. I'm a believer in starting education for the arts young.
I think that's what
So-
brings people to the community. When you think about how people think about Hartwell, it's not just a lake,
That's right.
right? It's what we can bring as far as entertainment, anything that stimulates the mind and creates an emotional reaction.
That's right. That's right. That's great.
Yeah.
That's great. So if you could leave us with one thing that you wanted us to remember about, well, first of all, before we go there,
Okay.
have I forgotten anything?
Um,
What is, I don't know what I don't know.
Yeah.
So you tell me what the audience needs to hear.
I think the biggest thing about the Art Center is that it's multi-purpose.
Okay.
It's and it's not that you don't know that. It's more that there's much more function to the outreach of the arts than just being in that building. So we do our best to have. So if you look at the sailboats around town, those sailboats were initiated by Leadership Heart, which is part of the chamber, but it was in conjunction with artists who painted those boats, and they're in different points of the city to be able to highlight an activity or a charity or some other function that is performed either at that location or just to get people interested in. And people comment a lot about the sailboats and how pretty
they
and
do.
attractive they are. I think the other part is that we are also associated with music. The Lake Hartwell Voices is a part of the Arts Center overall umbrella. And so when people come to see and hear the concerts in the spring and in the Christmas time, it's as a result of the Arts Center sponsoring and supporting the Lake Hartwell Voices. So it's not just, can you put something on a piece of paper with watercolor? It's a lot more than that. And we
Right.
try to get to the point where people have an emotional reaction to what they see and feel. And that way they can come back and enjoy it again and again.
Okay. And there's one other thing. Did I read that there's an education room at the Art Center that's coming about or something?
Exactly. Yes. Thank
Okay.
you. So this past weekend, we had about 22 people come out and clear out an attic area. More or less, it's more of the upper level of the initial venue. And there had been classrooms or studios, so to speak, up there where people did pottery work and multimedia work. We had to get that all out of there and move it. We have a kiln that we had to move in order to be able to create new studio spaces in classrooms. So
Good.
yes, so
Good.
that's happening. We're looking at trying to fix the floor, make it a nice smooth surface. It's a 1800s floor, so it needs a little bit of work there, and get that organized so that it can be used for classrooms when the students have a break and then in the summertime.
That's great. I read about that and I was excited about it because I just think that's a great offering that we really don't have around here. So
No,
I think that's awesome.
and being a member allows you to be part of that, and you get your children or whoever wants to be part of the classroom and the education programs in at a little bit of less of a rate if you're a member and sign up.
Maybe some camps, some children's camps in the
That's right.
summer or something like that.
Right. Where everybody likes to have their kids involved in things that keep them interested in something different
That's right.
and away from their phone and away from,
That's right.
being in front of a television. So we offer that.
Good.
And so we're looking forward to helping the community see some more of that.
Okay. So if there was one thing that you wanted to leave us with, what would that be?
Yeah, I was thinking about this when you asked about it before. And I think the idea that the Art Center is a public environment. We're here to help improve the lives of the community through art, but also to help the rest of the area around us know what Hartwell's all about. And by having our artists be the focus of attention for part of the year through the venue at the Art Center, I think we do that. And it helps with economic impact.
Yes, it does.
It really, when people look at a town to move to and they consider what the options are on a lake venue town, we have a lot of the boxes checked.
Thank you for touching base on it. Yes.
And besides the idea of the environment's beautiful and it's wonderful to have a small town, we have a cultural life, we have a social environment, and we have a lot of things for children and young people to be involved in.
Great.
And
Thank
that's
you.
what I think they should know about.
Perfect.
Thanks.
Dana, thank you for being here today.
Thank you, Debbie.
And
It's been very helpful.
I'm proud to be part of this community, and I'm proud that we have an art center and we have so many volunteers that are, it's their passion, and they want to see it make an impact on Hartwell, and they are. So thank you for
Thank you again.
you and your volunteers. So again, we will pop up on the screen how you can get tickets to the special event. If it's anything like last year, you're going to have a great time. So I think there's probably a limit. So be sure and get your ticket early. So, I'm Debbie Henry. This is your Hartwell Hustle, and thank you for watching, and we'll see you next time.